This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
OPEC oil output fell in March ahead of a scheduled output hike, a Reuters survey found, as Nigeria curbed deliveries to domestic refineries and Iranian and Venezuelan supply dropped on renewed U.S. attempts to curb the flows. The OPEC pumped 26.63 million barrels per day last month, down 110,000 barrels of oil per day from February's total, the survey showed on Monday, with Nigeria, Iran and Venezuela posting the largest drops. OPEC Plus is beginning to gradually unwind its most recent layer of output cuts. The full extent of the hike will depend partly on the impact of attempts by U.S. President Donald Trump to clamp down on supply from Iran and Venezuela.
Brent crude futures and options contracts traded on the Intercontinental Exchange, ICE, hit record volumes on Friday, surpassing levels seen during the COVID-19 pandemic as investors braced for a global trade war and OPEC Plus oil output hikes. Heavy selling drove oil prices to four-year lows at the end of last week, marking the largest weekly decline in a year and a half. Market participants traded 4.067 million ICE Brent futures and options contracts, surpassing the previous daily record set in 2020, according to ICE, when the global pandemic shocked energy markets and sent traders scrambling as oil demand shrank.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Chinese buyers of LNG are reselling US-sourced cargoes as tit-for-tat tariffs drive up import costs, and the trend is set to accelerate as new multi-year supply deals kick in this month and domestic demand weakens, traders and analysts say. Beijing, which imposed 15% tariffs on US LNG imports in early February, on Friday slapped reciprocal levies on all U.S. goods beginning April 10, matching U.S. President Donald Trump's move to put 34% additional tariffs on Chinese goods. China, the world's largest buyer of liquefied natural gas, imported no U.S. LNG during March, data from Kpler and LSEG show. The U.S. accounted for about 5% of China's LNG last year, according to Chinese customs data.
U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday he will impose an additional 50% tariff on China if Beijing does not withdraw its retaliatory tariffs on the United States. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries, which have also requested meetings, will begin taking place immediately, Trump said in a post on Truth Social. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Indonesia will lower import taxes on steel and mining products from the United States to between 0% and 5% from rates of 5% to 10%, the finance minister said on Tuesday. The Southeast Asian country will also lower the import tax for electronics, mobile phones, laptops from any country to 0.5% from 2.5%, Sri Mulyani Indrawati said.
Base metal prices in China stabilized on Tuesday after the previous day's sell-off, as market participants adopted a wait-and-see stance amid the escalating global trade war that has fueled recession fears. The most traded copper contract on the Shanghai Futures Exchange dropped 1.3% to 73,360 yuan, $10,005.18, per metric ton as of 0710 GMT, hovering at a three-month low since January 3. It had fallen 7% when the market opened in Asia on Monday. The benchmark three-month copper on the London Metal Exchange was up 0.4% at $8,766 per metric ton, rebounding from $8,105, its lowest level since November 2023 hit on Monday.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Chinese agricultural stocks rose sharply on Tuesday as investors bet tariffs would limit U.S. agricultural imports and boost domestic producers, defying a broader market crash sparked by the escalating U.S.-China trade war. Shares of Dabainong Tech, a seed and animal feed producer, rose 6.45% by 0424 GMT on Tuesday, and shares of Wen's Foodstuff, one of the country's largest pig breeders, were up 5.1%. Stocks of other key agricultural firms Wellhope Foods and New Hope Luhe rose by 6.3% and 2.45%, respectively. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.